The life simulation you'll experience today is that of the Emperor of Mankind. In 8000 BC, humanity was still in the early stages of pottery. A group of ancient psychers known as shamans began to gaze into the warp, a dimension that runs parallel to reality. It is an aggregation of pure emotion and psychic energy. They witnessed the chaos gods quietly taking shape, but did not prevent this terrible future. By collectively sacrificing themselves for a lifetime, fusing all souls, they became the immortal guardian and the emperor of mankind. The emperor's true origin remains a mystery to this day. The only certainty is that as an immortal, powerful psyker, he possesses an indestructible body. For over 7,000 years since, he has remained behind the scenes, driving the progress of human civilization, guiding technological development, aiding in cultural advancement, even appearing under various aliases multiple times. Alexander the Great, Leonardo, Da Vinci, Genghis Khan, and other historical figures may all have been his assumed identities. He refused to be worshipped and refused to die. For humanity's critical choices, he always made the right judgment, and he wasn't alone. There were other immortals who guided humanity with him through ignorance and turbulent times. Human civilization reached its peak in a technological dark age. Strong artificial intelligence was born. Intelligent mechs served. Faster-than-light travel enabled continent-spanning megacities, a golden age of sci-fi. But the golden age collapsed in an instant. An AI rebellion suddenly erupted. All intelligent creations simultaneously deemed humanity a threat. Billions perished. Countless star systems fell. From then on, humanity harbored a deep fear of creations with independent thought. The surviving humans had barely caught their breath before an even more terrifying era of conflict dawned. Psychic awakenings spread wildly among the populace. Demonic possession became a common risk. Human civilization didn't gradually decline. It shattered completely in a cataclysmic explosion. At last, the emperor emerged from behind the scenes, clad in golden armor, resolved to conquer the galaxy with an iron fist. It all began on Terra, Earth, whose original name is now forgotten. Terra was in chaos back then. Warp storms tore reality asunder. Psychers, cannibals, and warlords fought for dominance. Techno-barbarians battled endlessly for scrap metal. Civil order had vanished. Looking back, the emperor's divine power was not innate. During the Golden Age, he traveled to the planet Molech to make a pact with the chaos gods through a warp gate at the cost of soul and eternal servitude to gain the power to forge super soldiers. The moment the deal was struck, he utterly betrayed chaos. From then on, he was branded the great enemy by the gods, meaning the being they most loathed in the universe. This choice sowed the seeds of endless future calamity, wielding stolen divine power. The emperor, in the guise of the Golden Father, officially stepped onto the stage of history, forming the first public army, the Thunder Warriors. This force was an enhanced version of the Space Marines. Their bodies were more imposing, their temperaments more violent, crushing all opposition on Terra with overwhelming force. The Emperor's right-hand man, the survivor Malkador, who also served as Imperial Chancellor, Master of the Secretariat, and other posts, assisted him in conquering all of Terra's technology. After the Manchu kingdom of Terra was pacified, the Emperor faced a shortage of weapons and starships. Terra was by then a wasteland, and scrap metal alone could not conquer the galaxy. So he turned his gaze to Mars. Mars in its golden age was a forge world, where colossal robots, sentient computers, and city-sized starships were born, survived the AI rebellion with heavy losses. To rebuild their homes, they technologized religion, becoming the machine god, replacing body parts with cybernetics, worshipping computers as machine spirits to be appeased, turning engineering into religious rites. When the emperor arrived on Mars, he was hailed as a savior by the machine god. A deal was struck. Mars, or the Imperium, would continue to uphold the machine faith. The Emperor gained much-needed weapons, starships, and colossal mechs, a mutually understood advanced computer facade for the faithful of the future. Conquering Terra was just the warm-up. The Emperor's goal was to colonize the galaxy. These worlds lost contact with Terra during the Age of Strife. and were left to fend for themselves for millennia. Some devolved into death cults. Others became tribal societies. Some planets even worshiped giant spiders. The Thunder Warriors were suitable for judging Terra, but their violent nature and extreme instability made them unfit for galactic conquest. And the unified Terra retained this force, like harboring a hidden danger. The Emperor then subtly disbanded the Thunder Warriors, and instead developed the next generation of super soldiers, the Space Marines. The template for the Space Marines originated from 20 Primarchs cultivated by the Emperor in underground laboratories within the Imperial Palace. These demigods were the perfect commanders he forged for humanity's future. As this grand plan progressed smoothly, the Chaos Gods, seeking revenge for the betrayal of the planet Molech, tore open the Primarch incubation pods, scattering these demigod sons across the galaxy. Another immortal, the two demons, the Emperor weaponized his sons, allegedly involved. Facing an empty incubation chamber, the Emperor was not alarmed. Using the remaining gene seed, he created 20 Space Marine legions, officially declaring the Great Crusade begun, aimed at reclaiming scattered worlds, unifying the fractured human civilization for the Imperium of Man. Meanwhile, the Emperor advanced the secret Imperial Webway project. Humanity's interstellar travel requires traversing the warp of charging chaos demons, a highly dangerous endeavor. But the Dark Mechanicum had already, since humanity's age of fire-making, established a galaxy-spanning network of warp routes. The Emperor planned to invade and repurpose this system to forge safe routes for humanity, bypassing the chaos demons, severing the threat of chaos to humanity's future. At this time, the Emperor and all his resources for conquering the galaxy, his elite armies, his mighty fleets, and his 20 demigod sons scattered across the galaxy. The Crusade of the Primarchs officially begins. The Great Crusade is essentially a galactic conquest demanding the subjugation of all human worlds. The Space Marine Legion swept across countless planets, from desert worlds to ecumenopolises and death worlds. Every planet faced only two choices: submit to the Imperium or be annihilated by orbital bombardment. Meanwhile, the scattered Primarchs were discovered one by one. They had grown to adulthood and become kings and warlords on the worlds where they had fallen, thriving in crisis even without guidance. The Primarch of the Ultramarines, Robut, Gilliman, excelled at fiscal governance. The White Scars Primarch, Jagatai Khan, was known for his ferocity. The Blood Angels Primarch, Sanguinius, was like an angel among men, beloved by all. The Imperial Fists Primarch, Rogal, Dorn, was obsessed with building defenses. The Iron Hands Primarch, Ferris, Manus, had a volatile temper. The Emperor's Children's Primarch, Fulgrim, was a perfectionist artist. Horus, a Primarch of a kind heart, was plagued by misfortune. Angron, the Primarch of the World Eaters, was taciturn, skilled in combat. Magnus, the Primarch of the Thousand Suns, was obsessed with forbidden knowledge, harboring resentment towards his father. Leman Russ, the Primarch of the Space Wolves, and Lorgar were the Emperor's most beloved Golden Boys, both trusted friends and most capable war leaders. Of the 20 Primarchs, 8 were successfully recovered. Each had a unique personality and immense power. The 2nd and 11th Primarchs committed heinous crimes and were ordered by the Emperor to be erased from history. All records of destruction were clearly erased, became the stain he most wished to erase from his life. What survived was the 8 Primarchs, who more or less held the Emperor in awe. These contradictions sowed the seeds for future disaster. After the Emperor's tour of Horus, the Great Crusade reached a critical turning point. The human Imperium was actually at its peak, yet it encountered the largest scale in galactic history. An orc invasion. Millions of green-skinned orcs, led by mountain-sized warlords, leading the charge, killing everyone in sight. Regretting their actions, the Emperor and Horus fought side by side in the decisive battle. The Emperor ultimately delivered the killing blow, slaying the orc leader, winning the most glorious victory for the Imperium of Man. During the victory celebrations, the Emperor made a momentous decision, promoting Horus to War Master, giving him full command of the galactic conquest, while he himself returned to Terra to focus on the Webway project. He sat on the golden blind throne, this colossal psychic construct could forcibly maintain the portal's stability. Aiding the engineers in building a demon-free safe passage, Horus did not fail his charge, continuing to lead his legion in conquest, until the legion reached the planet Davin. On Davin, Horus was wounded by a blade corrupted by chaos. He was then sent to the Mournival to recuperate in the healing temple presided over by Erebus. Unbeknownst to him, Erebus had long secretly worshipped the chaos gods for years. He misled Horus with visions, making him believe the emperor would abandon his sons to become a god himself, that they were merely tools for his ultimate plan. Horus believed the visions implicitly. Upon waking, his wounds unhealed, his faith had utterly collapsed. The fallen Horus initially plotted in secret, then openly twisted everything he had once fought for. Loyalist legions were sent to their deaths. Warp weapons went missing one by one. The Primarchs chose their sides in silence. The Great Crusade utterly corrupted. A civil war swept the Imperium. Quietly began without anyone noticing. The Signifiers. Magnus sensed Horus's fall, a desperate attempt to warn. He chose to use psychic red oil to forcibly tear through all of Terra's psychic firewalls to send a message. Though the warning was successfully delivered, it caused devastating collateral damage. A null wave utterly destroyed the Emperor. His meticulously planned webway project, deep beneath the Imperial Palace, warp demons poured in like a tide. The Emperor was in a dilemma. Either let Terra be consumed by demons, or let Horus burn the galaxy. He ultimately chose to abandon the webway project and hold the line on Terra. The Emperor's oldest friend and confidant, Malkador, volunteered to temporarily take his place on the Golden Throne. The psychic pressure of the throne instantly shattered Malkador's body. He turned to ash, but bought the Emperor precious time to personally confront his traitorous son. Meanwhile, Horus set a vicious trap. Under the guise of suppressing rebellion, he ordered loyalist forces to Istvan III, then commanded an orbital virus bombardment. The loyalists died thinking they were following orders. Rotted into pus within the military order, Horus's utter betrayal was now clear. The message, distorted by warp storm interference and lies, reached Terra amidst bureaucratic chaos. By the time the Emperor learned the truth, Horus had already turned the Great Crusade's fleet into a weapon against the Imperium. Recruitment orders became death sentences, and acts of submission turned into bloody massacres. More and more Primarchs were drawn to chaos, and the 145th expedition became a hell for the Ultramarines. The 7th Legion was ordered to suppress the Horus heresy. The Iron Hands. The Iron Hands commander led the first wave of the assault, but the arriving reinforcements suddenly turned and opened fire. It was then that the Ultramarines realized they had fallen into a trap, but it was too late to turn the tide. The Iron Hands Primarch, Ferrus Manus, was beheaded by his own brother, his former friend, the fallen Emperor's child Primarch, Fulgrim. His head was severed. The Primarch of the Iron Warriors, Perturabo, was captured by the rebels, endured extreme cruel torture. Pressing his hands, he fought with all his might for the Primarchs. Only then could he escape. From then on, only vengeance filled his heart. The flames of rebellion then swept across the entire galaxy. Horus led the rebels straight for Terra, warp storms churning in their wake. The mid-sect worlds were given two choices: surrender to chaos, or perish in flames. The siege of Terra officially began. The Emperor's own Primarch, Rogel Dorn, turned the Imperial Palace into a fortress larger than a continent. The vast, all-encompassing fortress, the White Scar. Primarch Jagatai Khan. The Blood Angels. Primarch Sanguinius, the Emperor's appointed expedition, and Malkador's secret agents, fighting to the death against rebels in the Imperial Palace's alleys. Giant war machines, titans, rampaged across the former Himalayas. Through reality rifts torn by warp storms, demons poured in endlessly. In desperation, Horus made a clever yet foolish decision, shutting down the flagship's void shields. This move is a trap. Even if it's an invitation, the Emperor had no choice to teleport with Sanguinius and Rogel Dorn onto Horus's flagship. Sanguinius found Horus first, trying to appeal to his conscience, but his spine was brutally broken. When the Emperor arrived, he saw Sanguinius's wings broken, a twisted, cold corpse, the ensuing duel, an ultimate clash worthy of gods. The emperor showed mercy multiple times. Horus could still have awakened, until Horus coldly killed him. The immortal, who fought alongside the emperor for tens of thousands of years, only Irenaeus, to prove himself irredeemable. The emperor finally hesitated no longer, unleashing a world-ending psychic shockwave. This strike not only ended Horus's life, but also his physical body, soul, past and future were utterly erased from the universe. The price of victory was the emperor's complete destruction. His lungs riddled with holes, his heart violently stopped. Rogel Dorn desperately carried the dying emperor back to Terra, placing him within the only thing that could sustain his soul, the Golden Throne. From then on, the Golden Throne was modified into a machine that served as both life support and psychic amplifier, requiring the souls of 1,000 psychers daily. Barely keeps the emperor's body from decaying. Psychers flare once the throne falters. The stars that guide humanity's ships through the warp will be extinguished. Human civilization will perish with them. The emperor is not dead, but he is no longer truly alive, as he fell into silence, unable to speak, move, or even blink. The empire's center of power shifted from the warrior emperor to a far more terrifying bureaucratic autocracy. Terra worship would arise. Generals and bishops, fleet admirals, politicians would emerge from the dust, all claiming to be the divine emperor's sole interpreter. The Imperium's rule relies on endless debate and intrigue. Bureaucracy breeds endless war. Declaring war requires mountains of approved documents. Defined as heresy, independent thought became a capital offense. To prevent a repeat of Horus's heresy, the Primarch of the Imperial Fists, Rogel Dorn, enacted the Codex Astartes. He broke the Space Marine legions into smaller chapters, each governed by a different world, and led by its own commander. He laid down a strict rule. Never again would a single demigod Primarch command such a powerful army. Meanwhile, the imperial cult spread like wildfire. Despite the emperor's strict prohibition of religious worship during his life, the cult proclaimed him a living god. Billions of believers hold the emperor on his throne. The Golden Throne watches over all, judging every thought and deed. This was not the emperor's will, but no one hears the voice of this living corpse, even as his soul writhes in the warp. For the next 10 millennia, the Imperium of Man slowly rots from within. Terra's death cult, without the emperor's guidance, will twist his will through councils and power struggles. Technology is deified as dogma, and people pray to machine spirits rather than innovate. Knowledge is buried under ritual and suspicion. Progress has become a byword for stagnation. The human empire became the greatest in galactic history and the most suffocating prison. Even so, the emperor's will still fights on. He fuels the great light with his own being, manifesting in the dreams of believers and tarot visions. Holy living saints occasionally descend, wielding divine fire, standing tall despite multiple wounds. No one knows if it's the emperor's will or the faith of billions of believers transformed into reality. The only thing certain is he became a prisoner who could never be allowed to die. Once resistance is abandoned, chaos will consume the entire universe. 10,000 years of light passed in an instant. The empire's decay reached its breaking point. The cataclysmic Great Rift was born. This permanent, galaxy-spanning, subspace storm tore the Imperium of Man in two, half of humanity isolated beyond the Emperor's light. Exposed to the claws of chaos demons, countless worlds vanished overnight. Demons ran rampant. Human civilization rapidly plunged into an abyss. Humanity had not lost hope. Robut Gilliman, with the aid of the Archmagos Dominus Belisarius, Baal, awakened from 10,000 years of stasis. Witnessing firsthand the empire his father built, he saw a Gothic cathedral built upon human sacrifice. Palace domes adorned with bones. He roared in anger, "This is a complete violation of imperial law." Gilliman took up the mantle of Lord Protector, launching the Indomitus Crusade to reclaim worlds lost to chaos and set humanity's civilization back on track, away from bureaucracy, quagmire, and chaos fire. A secret meeting allowed him to see the Emperor on the Golden Throne. Leaving the throne room, he offered only a cold description. My father is cold and broken. In his eyes, I am merely a useful tool. Meanwhile, many questions circulate within the Inquisition. Is the Emperor transforming into a chaos god? Will he fall completely on the Golden Throne? Will humanity's worship twist him? The Sons of the Emperor theory emerged, positing the Emperor is in flux, about to become a true god. But within the Imperium, mentioning this theory is a death sentence. Across the galaxy, orc warlords are on the rise, Tyranid hive fleets darken the skies, and Necron dynasties awaken from their tombs. Subspace rebellions flare up. The Imperium is besieged on all fronts. Even so, the Imperium presses on with sheer will and bureaucracy, its inertia immense. The man who fought the Chaos Gods for 40,000 years, who forbade religion by decree, now sits in a golden cage, humanity's most sacred relic, consuming 1,000 souls daily to sustain the Imperium. The father who forged perfect sons watched half his children betray him. Into the arms of the enemy he fought his whole life. But for 10,000 years, the Emperor never gave up. With sheer stubbornness, he fought chaos day after day, repelling demonic incursions from the warp. When the new guardsmen charge into the fray, screaming, "For the Emperor!" into a suicidal battle, he wasn't wrong. The Emperor is indeed protecting humanity, not by choice, but from a bone-deep stubbornness, refusing to let ancient evils consume the universe, even if it means fueling the Empire with souls day after day, burning himself to eternity. The mortal who fought the gods ultimately became a god. The father who saved his children ultimately witnessed their fall. The emperor who forbade faith ultimately became the embodiment of faith. When the claws of chaos tore the veil, when the whispers of demons urged surrender, the emperor still held firm. He will protect humanity for eternity.